Alright, another DraftScience video presentation. Alright, so let's see if I can get to something relevant first. Is it possible? In comment sections are in people making videos. They're supposed to be about physics, but they're really not. Because physics is, it isn't a written book, okay? It's a book being written. The detectives are actively engaged in the process of finding the truth. It's not like it's a really good theory like the theory of evolution where you have all kinds of evidence that all points to one rational conclusion. Oh, I'm on that camera now. Change something, Linux, Anyway, wrong camera. It doesn't really matter though. Probably doesn't matter. That does seem closer. I don't like that. Anyway, all right. So this is detective work, and people just aren't getting that, and that if you're going to make an accusation and say the butler did it, you have to explain why you think the butler did it. You can't just say, I say the butler did it. It's a trial, and people just don't understand trials have to do with making arguments. You're a lawyer. If you can't make the argument yourself, you have some mouthpiece do it for you in some elegant way. But you make your argument, and then the other side makes their argument, their advocate, or they stand up and just say, I didn't do it, you people are full of shit, prove it. So in a part, I'm saying you people are full of shit, prove it, and you haven't proven anything, I would argue. All the big ones, your bent space and your entanglements and your this and your that, you haven't proven any of that shit with any kind of really good evidence. You've just drawn shit on pieces of paper and put them on the table and said, well, there's a picture of a gun. I've already made that argument, but that's really all you have. You have pictures of things that are, and they're barely, they don't even have that really, right? All they're arguing about is some frickin' mathematical equation that already starts with a stupid premise that I can dig infinitely deep holes in the universe. I mean, we all should say, oh, that doesn't sound quite right. The universe probably doesn't let you make an infinitely deep hole. I mean, these are, I don't want to trivialize it, but it's that bad. I mean, if you had a little more integrity, there might be some reason for me to take this more seriously and not just resort to, God damn, how dumb are you? You fell for this crap? You think this is a good theory? I mean, what kind of morons is in the jury? I mean, do you really understand what an experiment is? Do you really understand what good evidence is? You really don't. And you don't know the history at all. You haven't researched anything. You don't know anything. You're just arrogant and obnoxious jurors. And then you're sitting there, you're just saying, I don't like the way he looks. I don't like, he has crookedy eyebrows, therefore he must be guilty. I mean, your reasoning sucks. So anyway, Stephen Hill does, it's okay. He's, asking a question, but I mean, this whole idea that you're just always off the subject, you're never, and any people can stay on the subject of the videos, and actually contribute to resolving the truth out of all the bullshit. Anyway, I know you've been asked a lot of woozy questions, but do you think anti-gravity is theoretically possible? Well, we already have anti-gravity in the sense that it's just a force and you can anti it by providing an opposite force. Okay, so yeah, rockets are pretty good anti-gravity. But in the sense of negating gravity or mystically controlling gravity, like I'll just wiggle my fingers and make, squint one of my eyes and go, and stop gravity. No, that's not going to happen. So gravity is being produced because of a consumption of force, essentially. Force is being slowed down while it has to travel through matter and move the matter around. And so less comes out of objects than goes in. That's the simple syndrome that we call gravity. Gravity is a syndrome. More stuff goes into something and less stuff comes out. Yeah. And that means it's gravitational. And do I think that you can, do this and stop that from happening? No. Okay, I don't think you can do that. So there's no beam you could shoot at the Earth and all of a sudden it loses its mass and it doesn't catch energy anymore and it's all that kind of thing. No, you can't defeat it. You can't undo it. So if I could go back to the sail on a boat analogy, and the boat is catching wind, and you could say, is there some way to defeat it? Well, if the sail is its mass, you can kind of know you can't make its mass go away. What's the argument? Can you shoot a bullet and put a little tiny hole in it? I don't even think you can do that. All right, it's really not something you can stop happening. So you have to deal with what the consequences of gravity are. You can't undo it or suspend it or negate it or pretend it doesn't exist. It's real momentum in the universe, it's just a fact, in the sense that there's real pressure differentials. And all you can do is overcome the pressure with some other force. Use some other mechanism, a nuclear bomb or a big giant magnet or something, some big spring, to try to shoot yourself through it. But you have to shoot yourself through it. You just can't negate it. You can't just shine a light and the gravity all, like it's some sort of Mordor thing and it, all disintegrates. It's just not going to happen. All right, enough of an answer. So I probably shouldn't even bother with this Richie guy because he's just so full of shit. But it is an example, and so I'll use him as an example. This is, the human race. It's full of a bunch of people who have, way over deduced or approximated their competence, and they're showing up in court with wacky, silly theories, and they really don't have any evidence for them, and their agenda is who knows what. Okay, whether it's religious or it's some sort of gooey bullshit. They're trying to rationalize a universe that they think makes sense to them or something, but they really don't have any evidence to believe in any of it. They've just heard these little magical words and they think they mean something, like entanglement or gluon or graviton. They've heard these words, but they really don't understand the concepts they have to explain. The very idea of whatever the graviton would be, it doesn't even have any. It's not like graviton would be a version of photon, because it doesn't play the same role. It's some sort of magical thing that when it sticks to you, you all of a sudden become attractive or something. It's just, it's like some sort of beauty pill. It's just too stupid. So, we'll play this. This is reality. The world's made out of these kind of people. I've tried to be nice and give Robert some reason to pause a little bit and say maybe I ought to get my act together, but he doesn't want to do that. So it's just more belligerently stupid human tricks. Just belligerently anti-logic, anti-reasoning, anti-meaningful vocabulary, anti-anything that has integrity. It's just so absent winning. It's such a dismal, horrible, silly, some retard, who, some real retard could, someday maybe, he's in the audience at the Olympics and the retard decides, I want a gold medal, and he climbs up on the podium and says, give me gold medal. What are you going to do? But the whole human race is made out of these assholes. The whole human race has become an imbecilic, silly, trivial, ignorant. Insanely ignorant. All this information, and they're so fucking ignorant.
G'day, yours. Here's the circuit we're talking about.
All right, no, we're not talking about it. Nobody was talking about it, okay? Not Professor Lewin, not Electric Boom, not me, not any of your commenters, not Stephen Bro. You're completely off the subject, and it's just unfortunate that people like Stephen won't say, hey, you're completely off the subject. This doesn't mean anything. You're just fucking everything up here. You're just making goddamn noise. You're a retard stepping on the podium. Stop doing that. It's annoying. Oh, God.
Notice we've got 12 volts DC on this side, and on this side we've got an AC signal in the range of...
All right, so whatever that even means, right? This has absolutely nothing to do with the subject. Absolutely nothing. And he's talking again as if this has something to do with anything I said or anything Electric Boom said or anything Professor Lewin said. It has absolutely zero relevance to any of it. And here he is going on as if he's somehow making a contribution to the issue at hand, which is, can you have two voltages in a DC circuit at the same location? And even in an AC circuit, you can't have two voltages in the same moment of time. So there's no way he can defend this ludicrous crap, okay, and especially in the context of the actual experiment. This has nothing to do with the actual experiment. Nothing. No connection at all. I mean, he's going into the courtroom, with a picture of a whale cracker, like a little whale Cheez-It or something, and saying, and giving us the whole biology of whales. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense.
60 to 200 megahertz. I should have written that's 1 volt peak to peak. I'll put that in now. 1 volt peak to peak. It's very simple.
All right, so I mean, you really think that all the people in the audience are too stupid and they really don't realize that nothing in this drawing has anything to do with Professor Lewin's experiment? I mean, there's not a single element that has anything to do with the actual experiment. It has nothing in common with it. Zero. You think everybody's that stupid. They don't realize you're somehow fooling them into thinking this is relevant when it has no relevant component. Zero.
Circuit. In the centre you'll see the tap point, A and B. That's where we'll be probing our voltages. It's quite a simple circuit. This is on the lead up to something a little bit more complicated.
You're not leading up to anything. You're again playing this game like we all don't already know that you can put multiple signals on a wire. I can put 15 different frequencies on a wire. And at every location, they'll add up and create a certain voltage in the wire at any specific location in any specific amount of time. And that over different catches of time, I can measure different voltages depending on how I, there's a word for that with an oscilloscope, but how I target the voltage. I can get different numbers. They're called averages. Idiot. Yeah, I can get an average voltage. Not the voltage, an average voltage.
Need to get that sorted out in the beginning. So that's all that we've got on the circuit for today.
So it has nothing to do with the circuit, whatever that is. It has nothing to do with the underlying the underlying subject, which is when you induce a current in a wire, somehow the voltage can now have two different readings at the same location. It has nothing to do with the elemental statement that you have to be careful in how you apply your sampling of anything in the universe. Anything you're going to sample, like a photon or an electron or something, you always have to be careful how you're sampling it, because your sampling device is kind of aggressive, and that it might be doing something in the experiment also. It might be changing the circumstances. Duh. And that's the fundamental argument. Whether we should believe in some miraculous 2 voltages in one place, or whether we should believe, probe wires will screw up an experiment if you're not careful.
Next is a bit on quantum entanglement. Now, I've had a bit of a read on this, and...
just now, recently, you just heard of it?
This might sound a little bit impossible, but Gary and I, 2 separate minds, other side of the planet.
I really don't want to be put in the category, frankly. Okay, they're separate in every way. Mine works, yours doesn't.
Opposing sides of the planet. Our brains at the moment are quantum entangled.
Well, they really aren't by any rational definition. So again, you're way off the subject of what entanglement means. Entanglement doesn't mean you tied your shoelaces and the two laces are tangled. That's not entanglement. Entanglement says the two objects are now in a same condition. Okay, that they are now a mixture of each other's properties. And that when one is revealed to be the one thing, the other one will be revealed to be the opposite thing. And so only when you de-entangle them, okay, will they be revealed to be two distinctly different things. So it's as if they could be red and blue, and they go into a superposition of purple, okay, and then later they hit something and it says, well, you have to choose. Those two things are now both purple. And when one chooses red, the other one has to be blue. Now, that really doesn't have a damn thing to do with the fact that I've thrown some words at you and you've thrown some words at me, and my brain has certain reflexes built up over time. And so when I see stupid behavior, I say, oh, that's stupid behavior. And when you see smart behavior, you make the mistake of saying, oh, that's dumb behavior. Because you don't get right answers. Because you're stupid. No entanglement involved at all.
I don't know if you follow me, but we're having information exchanges and agreements and disagreements.
Yeah, I throw a tomato at your stupid gob, okay, and now you have tomato on your face. I mean, you have egg on your face. You have the crow that you have to eat on your face, okay? That's what's happened here. You've made silly accusations, and you've involved yourself in conversations where you were completely uninformed, and you've been demonstrated to be some kind of silly person who just talks out of his ass. So you have ass face now. I'm not in a superposition. I don't have any ass face. You have it.
So I'm stating that there is quantum entanglement between our two entities.
Well, you can state all the fucking bullshit you want, but again, this is a trial. You have to prove things. You can't just state them. You're a retard. I state my client is innocent. I'm done now, right? I did my job as a lawyer. I've made my case. No, you haven't made anything like a case. All you've done is promised, hey, there's going to be a whole bunch of evidence in this trial. Don't worry about it. So I'm going to just say a bunch of shit, okay? The prosecutor is cheating on his wife, and he has baggy pants, and he got a twitchy mustache. And there'll be a whole bunch of evidence later. Don't worry. I'm going to get to the real subject eventually. You're a ludicrous. I mean, Monty Python couldn't, be more of a funny characterization of a human being than you are. Just sad.
Okay. A little bit more on gravity. Yeah, we're progressing quite nicely on that hypothesis.
So more just promises of some sort of, he's going to give me some logic or some reasoning somewhere where he's going to actually explain how, well, yeah, there's fingerprints on the knife and they belong to the end. Something is connected to the what's on trial. What's on trial is your evidence. And you have provided zero.
Which will develop into a theory and may even be...
might even be a hypothesis, and then it might even be somebody else might even write it down and say, gee, that makes sense, but that is going to happen. I mean, it's being demonstrated to you overtly, isn't it? I mean, where have you collected any reason to believe you're on the right track?
Proven to be a theorem. So, a little bit about the cat. Gary looking to score cheap points.
I didn't look to score anything. I watched somebody, pretty much, abuse his child right in my face. Okay? It wasn't like the cat was jumping on a hot stove or something. There wasn't any good reason to be swatting at your cat. All right? He just jumped on a table. So you politely push him and say, hey, come on, go find something else to do. We're busy right now. But instead you did all this swatty stuff, and that's just a little bit, it's a little rude.
I disrespected and abused my cat. Very special cat, that one. Very smart cat. And that cat has a very special name. You should
Oh, who cares? Who cares? I mean, it's just such a... You really think I care? What is the cat's name is?
Google. I in no way was abusing my cat. My cat and I get on quite well.
Again, that's that's a subject for which there can be debate. Okay, you think it's okay to be swatting at cats. I just don't think so. So anyway, I'll be back. Yeah, should be back. Continuing.
That's my cat's name, Bastet. If you thought I was saying bastard, that's two different sounds in the Australian language. Bastard is a much longer drawn out word and ends in a D. Also got an A in it and an R and another A.
Alright, so again, just to point out the cluelessness of this individual, there's an English-speaking world out there, and people learn English, in different ways, because it's a home language, or they learn it like they live in Japan and they learn English. They learn a completely different English than your Australian dialect thing. And so if I played the video for, let's say, 100 random people on Earth, I believe that something like 90-something of those people, okay, 96, 97, will say, he just said, move you bastard, okay, not your basset, okay, whatever you said, they wouldn't necessarily hear it as you intended it. Can you understand the concept? I don't really give a fuck what you were saying, frankly. I was more interested in what you were doing, which is shooing a cat, which is evil.
Take away one of these. Bastard, and the cat's name is Bastet. So you should Google it. Very interesting story. My cat thinks it's a Egyptian god.
Whatever, I'm sure.
Trust me, cat owners will know what I mean.
No, they won't.
Yeah, so that's the little story about the cat. Also, we'll get back to the gravity. The apparent rotational speed of the outer galactic stars and planets and anything in the outer rings of the galaxies. That's quite easily explained when you consider that gravity is a superfluid.
Whatever. Look, I mean, all of these things, that there's real hard facts about what gravity does, and there's, so you're pretending there's some mystery about gravity, and there's no mysteries. So if you say gravity ends at a certain point, you have to demonstrate it with a piece of evidence. Again, you have absolutely no evidence for anything you're saying. So anything you're adding to physics, you have to add it with some sort of, here's the reason why I'm adding this. And you don't have any reasoning. Just as there's no reasoning to change mv into 1/2 mv squared. There's no good reasoning for it.
Like I think I've told you before that I like a field of study called magnetohydrodynamics.
Oh, who cares? I mean, magnetohydrodynamics. I mean, this is baby talk. Because again, we know what magnets do. They have a very specific function, and it's nothing to do with any hydrodynamics. Okay, that's like water and fluids that are uncompressible. And you're not showing me any evidence of how those two things are at all related.
Dynamics, and all that is the study of motion under magnetic and electrical influences of particles.
Yes, of particles of what? Unnamed players doing unnamed things, turning in unnamed direction, whatever. It's completely unexplained and has nothing to do with evidence. Experimental evidence. You have to show experimental evidence. Show it.
And you can expand that out and it becomes hydrodynamics. And the theory holds true. It's gravity is a superfluid.
So just more assertions, no evidence, no reasoning. He just walks into the room, he says, banana peel munchkin cake. Well, there's a trial, okay? You have to argue the evidence. Who did it, with what weapon, and how do you know? And you don't do any of that.
The part where I made a mistake was I was stating that the gravitons were being emitted from the mass No.
More mush. The magical gravitons that do what, how, what. It's an attractive force. So how do your gravitons make attraction? I mean, this is all just baby talk.
It's only a small correction. That part was wrong, and that was proven by analysis of certain motions and putting certain parameters in.
So he's disproving his previous unproven theory. Oh, yeah, thank you. I needed that disproof because I was so convinced by your previous ramblings. Oh, no, I wasn't.
Into the equation. Gravitons can be they can be made in space.
So more crap about magical things happening in magical space. I mean, again, not a shred of evidence for any of this. Not one pointed to experiment that demonstrates any reason anyone should believe this mush. It's absolutely just erroneous nonsense, not connected to any logical person who is attempting to understand physics will gain nothing from this babble.
When too much force is exerted on the current gravitons, just like when you put too much force on a gluon, you create another quark or anti-quark. You're putting energy into.
So again, just more crap references to crap that has no evidence backing it up. Just complete speculation with absolutely no theory. Where are these magical quarks acting in, where they're free to do anything? So how do they have anything to do with it? You're saying quarks make protons. Well, explain then what the proton is doing. Don't tell me what the quarks are doing, because the quarks are pretty much irrelevant.
The system. So you're putting.
It's like saying car is plastic. Plastic doesn't answer what a car is doing. If it's moving, if it's heading right for you, who cares? Plastic, this, that, doesn't matter. What it's made of, who cares? Explain its function and explain how it functions.
External energy into a small closed system to create new particles. Well, when you're ripping space-time, anywhere where you're attempting to rip, the energy will actually create new gravitons under my theory.
Who cares? Again, this is just babble. This is like should I really just sit here and make up crap about gremlins and pixies and hobgoblins and just tell a story about how they're doing all this stuff and not provide a single shred of experimental evidence indicating any reason any logical person would accept anything you're saying?
I don't want to give too much away, so we'll just leave it at that. There'll be enough there for people to think about. And
no, there's not enough there for any rational person to do any thinking at all. And you're insulting their intelligence by saying, I've provided you reason to believe me. No, you haven't provided any reason whatsoever, and you've provided all kinds of anti-reasons, in the sense that you're such a dishonest, hypocritical, duplicitous shit-talker. I mean, over and over again, you just keep demonstrating that you can't ever concede that, oh yeah, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Study, and you'll see I'm right. But anyway, I'd like to see what Gary says about quantum entanglement.
Yeah, I think it's horse shit, and your version of it is even shittier shit. I mean, it's like horse shit eaten by a buffalo that's been re-shit again. It's really shitty shit.
Of two minds, and our brains do work on photons and electromagnetic waves.
More just kind of nonsense. It works on, neural connections that are essentially there is a connection or there isn't connection. Okay, it's it's all a bunch of represented impulse, and it just creates a reflexive reaction. But to say it works on those things, I'd say no, it really doesn't. Computer runs on electricity, but it has really nothing to do with whether the memory location has something in it or doesn't have something in it. Doesn't really have anything to do with the basic function of the computer, which is to store information.
On the basic level, they work on a chemical protein exchange, but the actual energy exchange is in photons.
Well, whatever. If you want to call photons electricity, okay. But, that's a subtle argument for which they're, again, you're not going to point to the experiment that proves they're exactly the same thing. I'm just saying it's all the same thing, okay? Gravity, electricity, magnetism, it's all made out of the same stuff moving the same speed. So if you want to say they're all photons, it's probably better to just say they're all force bits. It's all made out of force moving the speed of light, and the force is made out of little bits of momentum.
Packets of energy. Getting back to this universe and the theory. Mine's not a theory of everything. A lot of people sort of run around, I've got a theory of everything. No, mine is very...
It doesn't matter. I mean, it's just so amazing that you really think this has any appeal to anybody. Like, anybody could be anything else but, irritated by this driveling on and on and on about your magical thing in the back room. And that anybody would find that anything other than just completely irritating to make all these claims and all this hype. You're not going to produce anything.
Very focused, small segment of the phenomena known as the universe. I'll focus.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Just a small segment of the phenomena known as the universe. Yeah, I'm just going to explain the universe, but it's not a theory of everything. It's just a theory of the universe.
On a very discrete component that we know as gravity, and how it works, and what it's doing, and how it can be predicted. And by the way,
so again, gravity is it's been known for 300 years exactly what it's doing. Okay, it functions based on the inverse square law, and it's a pressure essentially. And it pushes you, it gives you momentum based on your distance from some center of gravity. Center of mass, and it's produced by the littlest masses. The atom moves exactly the same speed as the Earth.
Over here, I just established that if you move 1 kilogram, 1 meter, over a time period of 1 second, that equals 1 joule. Okay, 1 joule.
Right, and MV has kilograms mass, it has meters in the velocity, and it has distance, time, seconds in the velocity. So it has kilograms, meters, and seconds. Yeah, all the components.
And that also conforms to the half mv squared rule. There's another one for you. I'll write this out on the back here.
So it's bad enough that they think there's 2 energy equations. Now he's going to draw a third one. I mean, too silly.
You can dispute this if you want. It's a mad formula. Don't like me writing things down. Bad luck.
I don't know. I don't even know why he thinks this is a useful thing to keep wasting my time with. But anyway, wasting everybody's time. I'm going to draw something I could say in 3 seconds, and I'm going to waste 22 seconds doing this crap.
E equals mad. Mass times acceleration times distance.
Right, and you could just argue that acceleration we already know is 1/2 the velocity. So gravity accelerates you at 1/2 the rate of the velocity it gives you. So you could just say half a v there, and then distance, yes, you move half the distance of your velocity. So whatever the velocity is, or the rate of gravity, you would just say you're going to move 1/2 that amount of distance. So if the rate is 10 meters per second, you move 4.9 meters, it's 9.8, you move 4.9. So you could just say it's a half a v plus another half a v, and just say it really can't be a times d, because that really won't work. Okay, you're back to your v squared baby talk. The simple truth is that yes, both of those components are essentially derivatives of half of your velocity. So if you just do mv, then you can get your e. Simple. The correct answer is momentum. Show me one experiment ever done on Earth where momentum gave you the wrong answer for something's energy. So just show me one example where momentum doesn't work. Just one fucking example.
Or displacement, if you want. Argue with that one.
Just a second. Alright, back once again. Let's try to finish this up. I'll try not to waste any more time on this. I mean, really, physics is about experiments, it's about deduction, it's about logic, it's about putting all the pieces together and making it into a coherent picture. It's about putting puzzle pieces together in a rational way. There are certain things you have to explain when you explain gravity. There are certain things you have to explain when you're explaining magnetism. Certain things you have to explain when you're explaining charge. Those are the rules. Nobody wants to play by them, and it's really irritating. And, but this is just a waste of time.
I think very carefully about all this. Now, we're all human, we all make mistakes. But when you make a mistake, you should admit to that mistake.
Oh, you're just outrageous. You're just such an insanely sick, poor, despicable, awful human being. I mean, to play this game like you have any notion of integrity when, again, you started this video with this idiotic notion that you're going to prove something with your 2 fucking wire experiment. You're completely off the fucking subject. You're not related to anything being argued in this specific subject, and here you are playing this game like you're somehow playing a good game. You're an obnoxious, straw-manning asshole. Okay, you ought to just admit, oh, I didn't know what you were really talking about, never mind. That's what you should say, just never mind, okay, sorry, I was off the subject. And instead you're trying to sit there and make your crappy, silly, idiotic, irrational, nonsensical contribution somehow relevant. It's not fucking relevant, asshole. You're pretending, I'm right. You're not right. You couldn't be more wrong. You're wrong, and you're not even on the right subject. It's double shit.
Correct it, and then progress from there. There's no point in just yelling and carrying on like a...
Oh, fuck you. I mean, there's plenty of point when some asshole, some fucking idiot, okay, is making assertions for which he has no evidence. He has made no rational argument. He's just saying this horse shit. Alright? Your insults are clear. I've got them. I'm saying I'm providing evidence. You're providing nothing. I'm providing reasoning and logic. You're providing nothing. It's clear. The evidence against you is overwhelming. And here you are still saying I didn't do it. You're an O.J. Simpson. You have no integrity. You can't even just grow some balls and man up and say, yeah, the bitch did me wrong and so I fucked her. For good. So instead of saying something honest, like you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, you're just pretending. Nothing happened here. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm an innocent bystander. No, you're not. You're an active, lying sack of shit.
Madman. Just because you're trying to cover for your mistakes. Whatever.
You say your silly accusations again. I'm not trying to cover for anything. I'm not the unaccountable asshole. I'm not the one talking over somebody else's video. I'm not doing any of that shit, you little creep. You're making these fucking accusations you can't back up with any fucking evidence. So fuck you. I have a right to be offended by a stinking, lying sack of dirty, smelly, rotten, shitty, crappy Australian crap. Speaking of which, yeah, I'll leave a link to Warble's On a Lot in the comments, in the description, because yes, you should hang out with him. Okay, another deluded kook. All right, he can never stay on the subject.
Yeah.
And who puts up nothing. He just types crap on other people's videos. Oh, Gary's a moron. Doesn't back it up with anything. He doesn't have the balls to explain 1/2 mv squared. He doesn't have the balls to explain what a bent space is. Ugh, so lame.
So that's my little message for today. You can argue against it if you want.
Yeah, everything about what you just did is disgusting. It's deplorable. It's an example of what's wrong with human beings. They're just lying, stinking, rotten, crappy pieces of shit.
The entire universe is just because I made one little machine.
They made one little machine that makes whatever, 1,000 times more energy than you put in.
Observed some phenomena that isn't quite usual. and we're expanding on that.
Yeah, we are. I don't know who the we is. You and the cat. It's one of the cats. The cat's kind of better at physics than you are.
We're saying, why did this happen? Why did that happen? And people are naturally going to argue and say, oh no, because they're instant experts, lounge chair.
Yeah, right. You won't even give anybody the stuff to argue about, and you'll just already paraphrase and point out how they're wrong, and you haven't even given them a chance to be right. You haven't even given them a chance, okay, to point out why you have made some mistakes in your perception of reality.
Armchair professors or keyboard warriors, whatever you want to call them.
And this is some dope who calls himself a Sparky. I'm going to do theoretical physics and I'm a Sparky. So he's sitting here telling other people that they don't have a right to do it, but the Sparky does.
I don't come here and brag and say I'm this good.
Yeah, that's all you do. You constantly do. I know what I'm talking about because I'm a professional Sparky, and I've Sparkied the biggest sparks in the whole Sparking universe. I've Sparkied all over. The Sparky here, Sparky there. I climbed the Sparky poles. I've been done all the Sparky stuff. I'm the sparkiest Sparky there ever was a Sparky. I am the poster child for the Sparkies.
No, I came here and I present ideas.
You present shit. Again, it's all it can be called is shit. You present. There was a gremlin in my room last night, and it flew around and around and around, and so there must be gremlin juice in the universe, and it must be geomagnetically, thermally, hydraulically. It's hydraulic gremlin juice.
Findings. I give mathematical proofs.
You have nothing. You give nothing. You provide nothing. So again, there's no mathematical proof. You never prove that if I move something 4 times higher in gravity, I've given it 4 times more energy. You didn't prove that anywhere.
And if you still want to just argue for argument's sake, it's...
Clearly, that's not what's taking place. I'm arguing because I think you're incorrect in what you're asserting. I have a right to say, oh, you're wrong. And I'm going to give some logical reasons why people shouldn't be thinking what you're saying has anything to do with reality, because you don't base it on anything called evidence. Yeah. It's just stories you're telling, silly little stories.
Argumentum ad nauseum. If you want to argue forever, argumentum.
Now, the idea is to argue enough to demonstrate the point. So the point would be is here I'm conducting a trial of your character. So I'm trying to convince people that we can't trust this witness because this witness talks absolute shit. So the evidence is that we've given a couple examples here where he provides erroneous nonsense as proof of something. He says he proved 1/2 mv squared gets the right answer for energy. He didn't prove it. He didn't demonstrate it in any way whatsoever. He just pointed out to us again something we already know, that gravity is a force you collect over time, and the longer you're in it, the more of it you'll collect. So obviously if you're moving slowly, you'll collect more gravity. I mean, that's all that the evidence indicates, and you didn't prove otherwise. You didn't prove that something is more energy, okay, merely because of how far it travels.
Ad infinitum. But if you want to argue against me, personally, that's argumentum ad hominem.
Whatever, you're the one making the personal statements, jackass, so whatever. There's no ad hominem here. I'm saying you're wrong, and you're belligerently wrong. That's a character flaw, in my opinion, and should be pointed out. As a character witness, you don't have any.
Yeah. You will lose, because I stick to the truth.
Okay, so we know he doesn't stick to the truth. We know that the whole Professor Lewin controversy isn't about 2 wires and a frequency and all this AC currents and all this crap. We know that has nothing to do with the controversy. And here he's pretending it does.
The findings and the evidence.
So he showed us 0 evidence, and whatever a finding is, he hasn't shown us any of those either.
And that's why a lot of people who've never met me, they've got a few videos up, they have my support. I see.
Okay, yeah, there's lunatics on planet Earth. there's haters too, you see. And the only people I see so far that have supported you are people who are obnoxiously opposed to me, and that's about it. So they're just feeding on your ad hominem attacks against me. They're not able to do any physics. Okay, so I would like Stephen Bro, to be an honest soldier here. And I'd like him to post a comment on your video, and I'd like him to try to say something honest about whether he thinks Robert Ritchie has paid any attention whatsoever to what is at controversy regarding Electric Boom and Professor Lewin. It's also regarding me, because I brought the subject up first. But anyway.
The truth, I see the evidence. I don't see ramblings. I don't see... well, I do. I've seen some of your videos, Gary. They're absolutely insane. And you call me...
So again, you make an assertion, you won't back it up with anything. So again, just more horse shit from you. Okay? So, yes, there's some videos I have made. As I said, I retracted because I was wrong. But regardless, the fact of the basic arguments being made over and over and over again, and more specifically to the recent conversation, your assertion that you can prove or show that the 1/2 mv squared gets the right answer and mv gets the wrong answer. Why don't you just show it if you say it's the truth? Show it.
Somebody that needs a bit of a rest in a sanitarium. But when I go there, I'll reserve a room in the next door for you.
Yeah, whatever.
Then we can argue ad infinitum.
Yeah, I have like I said, there's no argument beyond the fact that you've made assertions and I have to defend myself against them. And yes, it was me who first pointed out that you're wrong about something, but it's you who reacted like a little butthurt insane person.
But just, Gary's one of those people who wants to blow the world up because he is unhappy.
Okay, so that's philosophy, okay? And so we're not going to mess with that here. I think maybe I will do it in an Inmendum video, though, just because again, the argument is so empty and meaningless in terms of his characterization of the idea, the ethical concept, escapes him completely. So I'll use that as I'll demonstrate that on a different channel. So we'll jump ahead to where he gets back to something connected to physics. And if YouTube...
Experiment, you can choose the frequency, 50 or 60 hertz.
So here he is back again to this stupid so why isn't, Stephen Bro, show some integrity and explain to this asshole that the controversy has nothing to do with frequencies, it has nothing to do with AC current, it has nothing to do with two wires specifically. This is completely irrelevant.
50 hertz or 60 hertz. I'm not here to punish you, Gary. I'm here to try and talk sense to you.
Well, whatever. I mean, again, you're again just showing all this arrogance, and yet you'll have nothing to back it up. So you're the one being the obnoxious, arrogant, stupid, pontificating asshole, and you're just making it really clear that this is what you do as a habit. Okay, this isn't just an accident. This is your habit.
Yeah, if that's possible. We can go 110 volts or 240 volts. There's your choices.
Well, it's really 115 if you want to get technical, but whatever. So he's doing some comparison between European and Australian voltages versus, United States, which you get in the outlet. Who cares? And the 50 cycles versus 60. Yeah, the Europeans are 50, the Americans are 60. Who cares? What does this have to do with anything? What does this have to do with Professor Lewin's assertion? What does it have to do with Professor Lewin's assertion?
Pick a frequency and pick a voltage. Right? This is not a magic trick. I'm asking you to pick the parameters for the next circuit. So take a choice of 50 or 60 hertz.
So again, he's trying to connect this crap as if it's somehow relevant to the question of whether inductors can screw up your capacity to probe a circuit. That if you create a magnetic field, you'll have a harder time being able to accurately discern what a voltage might be in that field. the Faraday paradox. Go look that up, okay? And realize the truth that there's no paradox because there's actually no conduction happening inside the copper plate or whatever you're spinning. It's actually not creating any voltage at all. And the only thing creating a voltage are your probe wires. I mean, it's that ludicrous. It's that funny almost.
It's 110 or 240 volts. Doesn't matter. The choice is up to you. It's not a trick. I'm asking you.
Look again, just absolute nonsense. What are you talking about? How is this relevant to me? How does this have anything to do with my physics? How does this have anything to do with anything I've asserted or stated? It has absolutely no relevance whatsoever. And here you are strawmanning me with some sort of arrogant, obnoxious nonsense, as if I need you to give me a test. Fuck you. You're the one who can't pass the simplest test. You think you know something new about gravity. But what the fuck new thing are you going to add to gravity? What outside of reality, the known facts, the Newton facts, are you going to add?
Use the parameters, so I'll put those into the equations. And we'll see what we come up with. And I'll show you a circuit that doesn't obey Faraday's law, it does not obey Kirchhoff's law, and...
It's not the subject, frankly, violating both, but if that's what you're going to assert, then you'll probably have both Electric Boom and Professor Lewin give you instruction. So go ahead and assert that neither one of them are right. Go ahead and assert that, okay? And then you have to get demonstrated somehow, fuckhead. And you're not going to do that.
Getting back to that, you said I watched that video years ago, before I even saw you on the net.
Then how come you couldn't draw it right? Then how come you can't? How come you can't say anything? You couldn't say anything absolutely connected to the actual experiment. How come everything you said and everything you drew had absolutely nothing to do with the actual experiment? How could you be that far off? Okay, and then claim you know exactly you've seen the video. You clearly hadn't seen the video. You clearly didn't even understand what the controversy was.
Electroboom's response, and when I first saw it, I thought they've got the probes on the wrong way.
Oh Jesus! No, they don't have the probes on the wrong way. You can't get two different voltages by having the probes on the wrong way. That won't be good enough. That'll just mean the sign is different. Okay, having the probes on the wrong ways means you get minus 9 volts instead of plus 9 volts. It's not going to make it read minus 1 volt versus plus 9 volts. So if that's what you first thought, you're pretty fucking stupid. Again, you're a Sparky and you didn't know that having the probe wires the wrong way won't change the voltage. It can only change the sign on the voltage.
One way they're picking up a forward voltage, and in the other way they're picking up the back EMF, the reverse voltage. So if anyone does transformers, that will make sense to them, because in one way you get an additive voltage, and the other way you get an opposed...
Yeah, well that's exactly the whole fucking argument, you dumb idiot. The argument made by me, the argument made by Electric Boom, is that the probe wires are essentially just a secondary. They're just creating a secondary in a transformer. This is a similar argument I made to Franklin Hu a couple of weeks ago. It's not that complicated, dumbass. And you're the one who are asserting that you have some special knowledge, some special insight, and you weren't even on the right subject.
Voltage. So that's my little rant for today. You can choose not to respond. You can hide under your bed.
So again, just an absolutely insane accusation. You waste my time with these fake, phony, false accusations that I'm somehow afraid of you, you crazy fuck. You know how irritating that is? You are a waste of my time, the waste of the listener's time. And all I'm demonstrating is this is the problem with dissident science, is that these assholes stand up and just make noise. They're just anti for the sake of anti, or they think they are superior for the sake of their own self-aggrandizement, that they have some special knowledge, that they are a messiah of some kind, and it's just absolute bullshit. They can't make an argument where shit. They can't connect anything to the actual facts. You're just a Ken Wheeler shyster selling some idea that you have insight, and you haven't shown any of it.
Yeah, but I'll still stick to kinetic energy equals half mv squared.
Well, you'll stick to it with absolutely no good reasoning behind it. So you're just going to keep saying the butler did it, but I can't provide a single shred of evidence that says the butler did it. Not a single shred.
I've given you the definition of mass, time, displacement, and you can make up your own formula. But
I didn't make up a formula. What I said was Newton was perfectly correct to see the universe as masses with velocities, and that was going to dictate where something goes. That all you need to do is understand something is a mass, and the mass has a velocity, and once you know those two things, you know everything that's going to happen.
you can't say it's joules, right? You could say,
Yeah, you can. All right? All you say is that it's joules times 10. No. If you want to be that specific, okay? Because all you're really saying is you're not squaring the seconds. So joules would be kilograms meters seconds squared versus kilograms meters seconds. So what?
it's so many Garys. You can make up your own standard unit.
So again, I didn't make up anything. I didn't give mass kilograms. I didn't give velocity both seconds and meters distance. Those are just facts that existed 300 years ago, asshole.
But then you have to come up with all the supporting theory so that can be applied to the actual physical results.
Which you haven't done at all. Again, I'm asking you to show me where the train going 10 miles an hour that weighs twice as much as the train going 5 miles an hour. Show me that when you put a generator on them and take away all their energy, that somehow the train going 5 miles an hour has twice as much energy. Show me. Show me. Show me. Show me. Will you do that? No.
I use meters, seconds, kilogram, meter, second, system of international units, standard international units.
Yes. Mass and velocity have all the units in them. Time, distance, mass. There. We have all the units.
So that's about it. That's my little chat for you today. I'm interested to see what you think about entanglement, especially our minds being entangled through information.
Yeah, no, it's not the same thing. Tangling two shoelaces or banging something into something or me throwing a tomato at you. Again, if I throw a tomato at you, it doesn't mean that we both now are traveling through space with tomato on our face. No, it doesn't.
I'm interested to see what you think about this little circuit here, and I'm also interested to which values you're going to pick.
I couldn't give a fuck. I don't even know what you're attempting to demonstrate. It has absolutely nothing to do with the argument. The argument is you have a place in space, and you're saying you can make two pressures, that an atom can be sitting in a conductor, and that you can probe the atoms to see what pressure they're under, and you're saying they can be under two different pressures at the same time. I'm saying that's absolute nonsense.
So that's about it for today. Just a short video. You can do your hour-long waffle and rave on and call me all sorts of names. And you don't even know how to insult me.
I'm calling you what you are, an asshole, a preposterously huge, humongous asshole. That's what you are, okay? You're a shit talker. That probably need another good language, no good word to use. But the truth is, you're just kind of batshit, okay? You just aren't getting what the process is. You're not getting how to play the game. The game is to make a good argument, and your arguments suck.
An Australian. I'm not going to give you any. I'm not going to teach you how to insult Australians, because if one met you, you'd be on the deck. You'd be upside down. So.
Oh, I'm really worried.
Anyway, that's it for today. I hope you're enjoying yourself in this wonderful world that we live in. And
say again, you just lose all credibility. All credibility is just lost.
one more thing. If I make a lot of money out of this, Gary, I promise you, I'll give you the best healthcare in the world.
Whatever. So he thinks he's going to make a lot of money, okay, with his whatever, his super engine.
And I'll make sure you live to 100. What do you think about that? That would be the ideal thing. So You could live another 40 years.
It would be good if I lived for at least that long, just because there needs to be somebody rational on this planet. I mean, the sad truth is when I'm gone, wow, you know, the pickings are going to be so much thinner. It's just the sad truth. You're all so fucking incompetent. It's insane. There's only one good bus driver, you know, in the whole human race. You know, there's just too few of us. You're not going to find somebody better, sadly.
And just watch the world around you. I'd like to see how crotchety you got when you...
No, I was crotchety the moment I realized, oh, I'm in a shithole. Planet Earth. I remember sitting in a tree when I was, 4 years old. I climbed a little tree in the front yard, and I sat there while the tornado warnings sirens were blowing, and the sky was just as black could be. And I'm just sitting there in the tree going, what the fuck am I doing here? This place is stupid.
100 years old. Anyway, cheers people, I'm out of here.
Okay, whatever. Alright, sorry. Well, you didn't really have to watch this video, so, you know, there's no obligations tied to anybody here. So, you know, if I choose to, you know, waste my morning interacting with silly people, you know, I think there's some value in just trying to show how not to have a physics conversation. So, I mean, I'm seeking somebody who can make reasoned arguments defending these notions. You know, the notion that space is bent, the notion that we need some formula, 1/2 mv squared. We need to believe in the living force. And, you know, some reason to believe that there is any of this wave stuff happening on the elemental level when the two-slit experiment can be understood that there's no waves involved. You know, there's nothing interfering. The forces don't interfere with each other and get all confused about where they're going. You don't need to believe in any of that woe. And can somebody make a counter argument that actually has evidence in it? And nobody can. And they don't feel any obligation to do it. And so even though I'm begging them to do it, and I'm offering $2,000 for one of these people who love the truth to defend their truth, they won't do it. Ken Willer just made a huge beg video. You know, he made one of his, don't watch this video because I'm going to be begging. You know, went on and on about how, oh, my money, they're dried up. I don't get more, you know, after Christmas. He doesn't even get that it's the after Christmas problem, right? I mean, after Christmas, people are all saying, oh, shit, I bought too many presents. And they don't have any extra money, you know. So if you're dependent on your YouTube-generated money and all this kind of crap, yeah, it goes down a little bit. Views go down, all that shit goes down. So, yeah, you have a lull. You know. Well, anyway, and so he's just in this panic, you know, because he doesn't have, you know, this you know, his income, you know, from his gratuitous talk shitting. You know, he's not getting enough rewards. But anyway, so he's begging for money, you know, and I offered him right to his face $2,000. I showed you the emails, $2,000, and he declined. Right? Why? Why would he decline $2,000? When all he has to do is play a 17-minute video and then he can just say, well, that was a real piece of shit. So why is he afraid to do that? Anyway. So, there's not much I can do. You know, I can only take care of my end. That's all I can do on this planet. You know, I can just do my best. I can't force you to do your best. And that's all. That's all there is. So until you are willing to play a better game, there's just no game to play. Unfortunately. But I'm going to keep, you know, I'm going to keep pumping the basketball up and make sure we have the tools to keep playing the game, to play a good game. You know, I'll polish the court and I'll do what I can to keep, you know, I'll put up the $2,000. I'll say I'll respond to anybody, make a reasonable counter argument, and I'll respond to it. But, you know, that's all I can do. I can just do my part to encourage a good game. And you people have to bring it. And all you're doing is throwing rocks. Anyway, So, till the next time and such. And so forth and whatnot. I guess I'll do the usual ending. Probably something will go wrong. Anyway, so, yeah, till the next time and such. And so forth and whatnot. Yeah. This has been a DraftScience video presentation. Thank you for your attention.